Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have a few hours to get into 2023, and I'm seizing this opportunity to tell you Happy New Year and wish you the best in the incoming year, and also call down God's blessing on you and myself and our families too. We have worked together on this channel. I have found you very pleasant work companions. The New Year period is a time to give gifts. I wish I have gifts for everybody that follows this channel, but as it is, I have only a gift for a particular group of people, and I beg the forgiveness of the others who may not identify with this particular group that I have this gift for. On other occasions in the future, I will try my best to step up. What I have today is a present for the Igbo people. I do not have money for my people, but I have ideas and I have information. And the information I have are the kind of things you would not learn in any university. And I think that's what really counts. Much of my talk will be from a prepared text, and some will be from my head. We will start now. Igbo people were to use contemporary usages a few centuries ago, citizens of a country we would call Igbo land today. I do not know many people in the world who have thought that the Igbo people once had a country. In fact, I had never come across any study that referred to a country, a sovereign, national, independent country of the Igbos. You think this does not have an effect? We would see that it has an effect as we proceed. This country lost its independence and sovereignty to Imperial Britain in the 19th century. This talk, which is also in written form, is necessary because most people in the world, and this includes my Igbo people themselves, do not know or have forgotten to be very charitable that there was once an Igbo country. Before the British came, most people, most Igbos, do not have an idea of the status of the Igbo people in the world. I will not swear that most Igbos know that they had a sovereign and independent country that they lost over 100 years ago. And because the Igbo people do not know what I just talked about, we are confused today about who we are and who we should be and how to go about it. I had to write and talk about this because of just one article written by one Samant Subramanian. This article was entitled Lost Jews of Nigeria. I read this article many months ago, but because it had nothing new to tell me, and because it repeated the same old cliches of referring to the Igbos as lost Jews, I didn't think about it, but I began to think about it again after my friend Haham Rabbi Dr. Yehonatan Elazadi Mota, the president of Abadaya Alliance, which constituted the Sephardic Jewish religious court or Bedin, which ruled that Igbos are linear descendants of the Israelites, brought up this article in one of our study forums and wanted to know if we had seen it. I decided to do what I am doing right now because of the full implications of not just the world, but Igbos themselves seeing themselves as just lost Jews of Nigeria. Lost Jews of Nigeria, of course, does not represent the Igbos. The Igbos are far from that. The Igbos are too big for that. As I had said in starting, Igbos had an independent, sovereign national country, independent, that lost its sovereignty over a century ago. Hereafter, I will discuss more intensively who the Igbos are. The Igbo people are still one of the largest nations in the world, though their population has been in steady decline for many years. If you know about the tragedy, the disaster, the catastrophe called Biafra, you would know what I'm talking about, or spoken about, embedded in the story of Biafra, the Igbo-led republic that lasted for 30 months. If you know the stories embedded in that code, in that name Biafra, you will understand why the Igbo population has been in steady decline. 3 million souls were lost, and then imposition of a different foreign culture, contrary to Igbo ethos, also helped the Igbos to lose more people. You can say that Igbos are one of the largest ethnic groups in the world. Also, as a verity, you can say they are by far the largest Israelite ethnic group in the world. Note, there are other Israelite ethnic groups. Some, note, they all took off from Israel, but some stayed for longer periods in what we know as Europe today and the Middle East. This is the history as far as I'm concerned and as far as my research proves. But if you say that the Igbos are the largest in this family, larger than the Ashkenazi, larger than the Sephardic, larger than the Mizrahi, larger than Beta Israel, you will be stating a verity. The groups I mentioned came from one family. As Igbos, i.e. those whose first identity is Igbo, Igbos number at the very least 50 million souls. When I say those whose first identity is Igbo, I mean those Igbos who still maintain ties with Umunna. If you translate this to English, you will have children of the fathers in Igbo land. By the way, this is the biblical Hebrew term for family. If Moses and his forebears wanted to refer to family, they would simply say children of the father. Umunna, or children of one father, is the Igbo term for family. I do not know many other nations in the world looking at nations as ethnic groups with same language, culture, religion, and historical experiences that number up to 50 million souls. As a scholar of religions and religion, which are excellent methods for looking at world history and peoples, I can tell you that my investigations reveal that there are not many. China, Russia, Arabia, India, Hausa are filled with totally different nations, being pulled and forced together by various factors I will not get into here. It will suffice for you to know that throughout history, many imperial projects have brought many people together. And over time, identities, cultures, and the rest were lost, and peoples that were originally different became one. But that's not the Igbo case. The Igbos are one family. And there are over 50 million. Igbos have managed to maintain this high number through major catastrophes like the transatlantic slave trade, British conquest, colonization, Christianization, and two major genocides, which have caused unrestrained and unmanaged emigration from places Igbos could more easily sustain and maintain culture, which in turn would have kept them as one people. The Igbo people have a territory over 16,000 miles of land in which they built this unusual country that I'm talking about, which maintained sovereignty, independence, both the Israelite culture and its biblical descriptive or name, which was Omena, religion and culture which thou shalt do in the land, and which flourished for centuries until it went down before British arms and was absorbed into Imperial Britain's West African province, which passed it on to the succeeding empire, which can be called Nigeria, or which is called Nigeria. If we must give this Igbo country a name after the modern tradition of retroactively giving countries or states names, we have not thought that this is a new development of calling every territory, calling every people, assuming that every country had a name in the past. Its name in Igbo language will be Obodo Ndi Igbo, or Hebrew republics, if we are to use the language that I believe with good reason that majority of the Igbo people used when they were forming this republic. Or if we are to use the Hebrew language itself, Medinat Hebrew, because the term Igbo, Hebrew, Ebo, Igbo are all different forms of just one word that has remained elusive up till date. Most people in the world, most people who deal or will deal with Igbos, including most contemporary Igbos, do not know what you just read, even though the evidence is self-evident, as we as lawyers would say, and relatable by most, primarily because the stories out there are so misrepresentative and opposite. The libraries are filled with generally misleading books about that, quote, tribe. Igbos are composed of tribes. They are not a tribe. Unless Russians, Han Chinese, Ukrainians, Serbs are also tribes. The article I referenced called Igbos Lost Jews of Nigeria. Igbos are related to Jews. But Igbos are not lost Jews of Nigeria. They are related to Jews. The relationship between the Igbos and the Jews is like the relationship between the Bedouin Arabs in Arabia and the Shua Arabs in Nigeria. I believe that the relationship between these two groups is closer than the relationship between Russia and Belarus. Both are Slavic peoples. The Igbos and the Jews are both Israelite peoples. That is what I just told you. The basis of the relationship. They are members of one family, but the Jews are Jews, the Igbos are Igbos. Both belong to the Hebrew family. You want to know? You want to have evidence, even though everywhere there is evidence now. But I go by the prefix ze. The Nazirite tradition lives on in the Igbo society. You want to have stronger evidence of what I'm saying? Well, if you cannot go to Nigeria, go to any library or go to Amazon, get things fall apart. You will read about the Osu, referred to as Netinim in the Gemara. They are the people who served under the priests in places like Shiloh, where Samuel the great prophet lived and worked while leading Israel. They are a living part of the Igbo communities. They're very influential for that matter. They are the Osu. You will also find the stories about them in not just Things Fall Apart, but in A Man of the People. No Longer at Ease. A Man of No Longer at Ease, No Longer at Ease by Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. But if you want to read it as a novel, you could go for Suicide at Milking Hill by Remy Ilona. Caroline Rosenberg, a South African Jewish woman, an anthropologist, on reading this book, shook her head. And why did she shake her head? The Bible came alive. The Bible came alive. You could also look up Remy Ilona's Dissecting the Osu Tradition. You'll find these books on Amazon. So, looking at the Igbos as just a tribe, and as lost Jews of Nigeria leads you astray, does not tell you about this nation. If you look at them as a tribe, what you will see is, what you will think about is a tiny or small group, almost indistinguishable from the surrounding, quote, tribes, which, by the way, include very different from Igbos, mighty nations like the Yoruba, Benin, and Hausa, to a group of people who are lost and confused. If you look at them as lost Jews of wherever, they are not lost Jews, they are simply the largest Israelite nation, if you want to bring in that part of their essence. So, in getting ready to round up, I want Igbos to start seeing themselves simply as a major nation. Loss of sovereignty does not mean you are not a nation again. As a major nation, or better still, a major Israelite nation, which its past before the slave trade is filled with glory, and which at present time, some of its members in Omen are defenders. Its leading think tank are engaged in a life and death struggle to get the masses of the nation to understand what they are, in order for them to snap out of anomie, regain their place in the world, and increase their contributions to the good of humanity and the world. An Igbo nation which rediscovers itself will be a world leader in many fields. I know what I'm saying. My New Year present to Igbos is therefore, look carefully at thyself, know who art thou, so that thou might be able to go towards being whom thou mightest be in strength and power. This is my New Year message to my beloved people. I wish Igbos the best. I wish every lover and friend of the Igbo people the best. Thank you.